2007 was a crazy year. The first iPhone was released, NASA launched the Phoenix Mars lander, and This Is Why I'm Hot reached number one in the US Billboard's Top 100 chart. The man behind the music, Shawn Mims, is here with us today. How are you, Shawn?
How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing really well. I've been super excited for our interview. Growing up as just out of high school around the 2007 era, I had "This Is Why I'm Hot" on pretty much every mix CD I made. So I'm really looking forward to our interview.
Oh man, looking forward to it as well. And you make me feel old, man. Thank you.
That's not my intention, but
Yeah.
awesome. So, how has the pandemic been treating you? How are you keeping yourself busy?
I think for me, it's actually been. I know a lot of people have had like a really roller coaster of a ride year. For me, it's actually been a special year because I actually welcomed in the birth of my first child. So I legitimately spent the whole year in quarantine, but I guess also I got to spend a whole year at home, with my son. Um, so I mean, I probably wouldn't look at 2020 the same way as others do out there. I feel a little bit more blessed that I was able to kind of spend some time, take some time out to spend with the family.
Absolutely. That's congratulations. That's absolutely amazing. Um,
Thank you, thank
it
you.
uh, eh, do you mind telling us the name of your child, of your kid?
Yeah, yeah. His name is Noah. So I'm a big animal lover. So I'm hoping that one day when my son grows up, he'll be an animal lover as well. So named him Noah.
I'm sure he will. And the kids pick up so many traits from their fathers that I'm sure your love of animals will translate right to him.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Awesome, awesome. So let's get right into the questions. Um,
Okay.
Music is my savior. Not only is it an acronym for your last name, but one of the hottest rap albums of 2007. Could you speak to the experience of working on the album and how everything came together?
Well, the album, I always like to tell people, I had my whole life to make that album, right? So like that, your first album, the first album that people hear from you, usually because that's your breakout album and you've worked so hard to get in the music industry. That was the first body of work that I completed. So I kind of had my whole life to work on it. So when you listen to the records, some of those records are even dated older than even when the album came out. So yeah, records on there, it was released in 2007, but there might be records on there that I actually recorded in like 2002, 2003. Um, and I think not so much the music for me, but the experience of recording the album was a special one for me and amazing because and I always tell people during that starving artist period, when you're not making money, that's the most fun that I've ever had. As soon as like my career started to translate to income, I feel like it's you know I, the fun got sucked out of it. And yes, I was able to do some incredible things and tour the world, but the most fun that I've ever had was during my starving artist period before the album was while I was creating the album.
That's a really interesting perspective. I really like that. So, so during your starving artist period, could you think of any like particular event or night that stayed with you even through all the success you had later on?
I remember one of the first tours that I ever did in my career was I got to tour with Method Man,
Oh
and
man.
I was the national opening art act for one of his tours that he put together. We did venues like House of Blues venues across the country, and I mean he has a cult diehard audience that loves his music, and he's such an amazing artist and performer that for me it was um, to me that was the pivotal point in my career because it showed me um, that being an entertainer and performing is different from being a recording artist. It's different from being a radio artist. So even though you may see people who have a lot of success on radio and television, but that doesn't always translate to actual performances. So for me, that period of time in my life, that tour taught me a lot. And honestly, I had a great time on that tour because we went around the country with little to no money. We went around the country in a rental car, driving to every venue, staying in Motel Sixes, and and not Method Man, but my team did that. I'm not sure. I'm sure he was stayed in much better hotels than I. But for me, it was that rock star period. I felt like a rock star with that type of lifestyle back then, because that's how the rock stars used to tour way back in the day.
Awesome, awesome. Method Man and everybody else that is kind of associated with the Wu Tang and everything like that. They've been really amazing artists. Were you like a fan of Method Man before this, or did you kind of just?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of figured you would be, but was that kind of um a starstruck moment the first time you got to perform or meet Method Man?
So what I'll give you the story, the rundown. So what happened was in New York City, Old Dirty Bastard, who was a old, obviously rest in peace, he was another member of the Wu-Tang Clan. And I performed when Old Dirty Bastard went to jail, and then one of his first performances when he was released was at BB King's in New York. And I was invited to play on the same bill as him. And the booking agent at the time who booked me for that show saw my performance and decided that he was working on a tour with Method Man and was like, look, it would be great if you came out. Now, mind you, I don't have the same audience as the Wu-Tang. I mean, maybe some sprinkled in here, but I won't give myself that much credit. They have a diehard audience, and it was a culture shock for me because the music wasn't necessarily the same. I didn't have the same music that Method Man had to display. So I quickly had to learn during my show kind of how to like be how to control a venue and understand the crowd. And no, I mean, starstruck, I probably wouldn't use that word, but I'm definitely a fan. And the respect has always been there. He may not even remember that he did that tour with me way back when, but my level for him for allowing me to be on that tour, and then help cultivate my career, you know, I'm hands down a pivotal point in my life.
Yeah, that's a really amazing experience. I never got to see Method Man or anybody from Wu Tang live, and I really kicked myself in the butt for
Oh,
not going after it. I mean, Wu Tang still performs sometimes, so there's still time. I guess after this pandemic, it
yes.
might be more possible.
No, you got to check a shot. It's amazing.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to. So going back to the Music Is My Savior album, you worked pretty extensively with DJ Blackout and the Blackout movement. Could you speak to his
Yep.
involvement and how it helped the record to reach the heights that it did?
Yeah, I mean, listen, without Blackout, I wouldn't be here. He was that producer that stepped up and prior to me having a budget or any type of money to work with and get in the studio with, he was the guy who went out on a limb and said, "Yo, I like him as an artist." Him amongst a few other people in the studio back then, and um, you know, we recorded a lot of music together prior to putting out "This Is Why I'm Hot." But that record just I felt something in it, and everybody else around me said that was a great song. And I wouldn't have wanted to do it with anybody else other than Blackout, because obviously he was so supportive of my career prior to it taking off. So yeah, I'm actually, I think I'm probably going to start working. I haven't really said to people that I would record new music, but I think if I did, there's only a handful of producers I'd work with, and he'd be at the top of the list.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's really cool that as a young coming up artist, you can have somebody that helps you and works with you, even with the gamble that the album might not take off and they might not get paid or as much as maybe they would if they're working with somebody big. So, props to DJ Blackout and Blackout movement.
Absolutely.
So, in the "This Is Why I'm Hot" music video, you get a quick glimpse of a young Remy Ma. How did that come about?
You know what? Rewind back in the day, when "This Is Why I'm Hot" started to kind of like take off on the charts, me being from New York City, you build and cultivate some relationships, and a few people had reached out at the time to jump on a remix. And I remember, uh, a couple people reaching out like, "Man, who would you want to go with?" And I think Remy had gone in the studio and laid a verse down. I don't even know if that's like out on the internet. I hope it is somewhere out there. And she had did. We were working on basically doing the remix, a rap remix version to the record. The only reason why it was never put out commercially was because I actually released a reggae version of the record that took off, and then I was never able to kind of get back to releasing a hip hop version. But shout to Remy Ma, she blessed me with a verse, and you know, um, she's dope. I mean, she's dope. So she actually came out to support the day we shot the video. She came out to actually support. So shout to Remy Ma for sure.
Absolutely. Remy's, yeah. And then she had like she really blew up in over the last few years with, I know that she had a beef with Nicki and a bunch of other crazy stuff. So yeah, Remy's awesome, and I really do enjoy her music. So if you guys
Yeah,
watch the This Is Why I'm Hot video, there's a moment you can see Remy Ma, and she's holding up a chain that says Remy
yeah,
Ma on it.
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Exactly.
So the game Madden 2008 featured your song Cop It. Did you have a hand in making that happen?
I didn't. I don't remember what the process was. That was when I was on the record label. I was signed to Capitol Records. The album had just been released, I believe, or prior. It was about to be released, and then we were kind of like just shopping different songs to different outlets. And Madden asked if they could pick up the Cop It record, which I thought was pretty cool because I'm an avid video game player, especially like the Maddens and the 2Ks, and whenever someone says, "Yo, let's put your record in it," to me, that's almost like a rite to passage as a hip hop artist to have a song that's featured in a video game. So shout out to
Abs-
Madden. I'm still a player of the game, and
yeah.
shout out to
Yeah.
them for sure.
Absolutely. Was there ever a time you were playing the game and then your own song would come on, like, during any of the plays or anything?
Yeah, I definitely at that year I was touring a lot, so I didn't get to play as much as I would love to, but no, I certainly remember throwing the video game on and saying, "Wow, like I got a song in Madden. This is
That's
crazy." So
crazy.
everybody who's playing this game right now is probably listening to this record. So it was
That's
actually,
awesome.
like I said, a surreal moment, and shout out to the team at EA Sports and the NFL in general.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure that I played that game, and uh, you know, there's a lot of pretty terrific artists throughout the Madden series, and they do a pretty good job. So yeah, shout out to Madden. Um,
Mhm.
My last question about Music Is My Savior. You voiced publicly that the album cover for Is My Savior wasn't your choice and you didn't care for it. Could you speak to that experience?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I was so 2006 we released the record This Is Why I'm Hot. I went on the road, I think in May of 2006 to help support the record, push the record all across the country. Um, so from May of 2006, um, I didn't get a day off. Like it was no days off. I basically stayed on the road. I remember we needed to do a photo shoot, and I think I had like a few hours in New York. We had a photographer come in. They put together the shoot, and so basically, I guess imagine it like this. I come into New York. I do the shoot. I never even really got to see the pictures like that to pretty much say yes or no to it. What happened was I was so busy on the road that someone in the art department at the label decided that they would take the lead on actually putting the album cover together. We had a few different choices to select from, so I got to see that, and then I told them that it was actually my least favorite was the one that they actually went with. So I was a little upset by that still to this day because I don't feel like the cover represented me. Um, I didn't. I grew up in New York, but if you like look behind my head, there's project buildings, and yeah, I went to school in the Polo Grounds, but I didn't grow up in the projects. So like I felt like that was a misrepresentation of who I was and where I came from, and um, I didn't like it because that was my first shot of not having the control, the creative control that I thought I would have going into signing with a major label. And um, yeah, it wasn't my cup of tea, man. Even to this day, like I still kind of get a little upset about when I look at that album cover.
Yeah, do you think that the idea was to portray you as someone that you weren't, as in, putting you as somebody who might have grown up in the projects, uh, you know,
Yeah.
uh playing into that, I don't know, stereotype is the best word I can think of.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, that was the question mark for me. You know, when you listen to the album and what the album represents, um, I mean, like I said, I grew up under some pretty harsh conditions in my life. I've gone through a lot, but I never want to be misrepresented. And I didn't understand the visuals, and the way that it was connected. So usually there's a purpose, right, for everything. So when you put something together visually and people look at it, you want them to kind of say, okay, cool, this is who he is. And I didn't understand that. I think maybe, I mean, the only way that I could probably look at it is if maybe there's an artist that was hot at the time that represented that, and they wanted to kind of like sway some of his audience, or him or her audience. I don't know. So all I know is
Yeah.
that it wasn't something that I would have chosen. And you know, fast forward, hence why I probably wouldn't do any sort of deals with a major label. Um, or at least if I did, I would definitely pay more attention, because my responsibility at that time should have been stop whatever I'm doing, make sure that that's done correctly instead of relying on other people to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
I'm sorry that that happened to you, but you know, every missed opportunity is another opportunity forward. So at least now that you know, like you said, you know, to take that extra minute and be like, this is not how it's going to go down. I need, my truth to be represented on my artwork. So awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So let's fast forward a little bit to your Guilt album. Uh, your second studio album, Guilt, featured the hit songs "Move" and "Love Roller Coaster." You work with talents like Latoya Luckett and Tech Nine. Could you speak to the process of putting this album together?
Yeah, so the Guilt album was designed to be obviously my sophomore album. The way I kind of wanted to do it was I wanted to represent, you know, what I liked, even musically. Like I kind of wanted to show people who I was, and that I had the ability to be multifaceted and music, not only for the clubs but also, just give them a little bit more sense of who I was. So some of the cuts on that album, I feel like a little bit more inviting to people, to learning who I am. Um, the Move record was supposed to be like a warm up single off the album, where we kind of like, you know, it was one of those fast paced, kick driven records, that was just supposed to kind of grab the attention. And then with records like Love Roller Coaster, it was kind of supposed to show a softer side, because obviously I do make music not only for clubs, but I wanted to make music for like relationships, or for women or men or whatever. So I wanted to kind of show all that. And I think when you listen to the album, you'll see that it's cohesive. This gives you different flavor. I am and what I represent.
Absolutely, absolutely. That album, it does feel a little bit more authentic and like it's coming more from the heart. Whereas, and don't get me wrong, the first album, "Music Is My Savior," is a fantastic album. It almost felt like Guilt was a like more of a dive into your thought processes and your life on a more personal and authentic level. So it's a really good album. If you guys haven't listened to it, jump on Spotify and
Absolutely.
look up Guilt. It's great. The name Guilt came from the guilt you experienced from the comparison of your life of fame and fortune and the people in your life that were struggling. Was that something you anticipated going into music?
No. So I mean, listen, no one ever, it's almost like the basketball player or the football player or whoever that basically just blows up, and then all of a sudden you're making all of this money. You're able to kind of, move yourself out of the neighborhood you grew up in, and there's no crash course for that, right? No one ever knows. Like, I mean, people go through it, but it's really like just a change of pace and a culture shock. And I think for me, you're talking about 2007, 2008, 2009. This was during like one of the most difficult times the country has ever faced in our lifetime, meaning, we went through a recession. Um, and, people were losing their homes, people were losing their jobs, people couldn't feed themselves. I mean, and here I am, making all this money, and here I am living this lavish lifestyle and flying all across the country to perform. And, I'm getting paid 30, $40,000 a show just to get on the microphone. So yes, I mean, when I came up when I had to think of the title album, um, of a title for the album, I recorded the song "Guilt." That was one of the first songs I recorded for the album. And when I recorded and I started reciting the words, I'm like, yes, this is it. This is my emotion going into this project. This is how I feel about where I am compared to where other people are. And it wasn't that I wasn't blessed or felt grateful. It was just more like man, what did I do so special that I don't have to feel this part, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that sometimes people celebrities that blow up and they start making like these figures you're talking about 30, 40,000 a show and you're playing 3 shows a week, you know, they've said that all of a sudden they have a third cousin that they never knew that needs braces. So did you get any of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. No, I mean, I still do, I still get it now. So I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like um, it's tough, right? Because you definitely want to help people out. You want to, you know, um, give people a different perspective or an advantage that they probably never felt that they have. And I have. I've helped a lot of people in my life, but I think what I realize is that it's tough to help everyone. It's tough to save them all. And I think that guilt factor is the reason why rappers, why entertainers, why ball players, why football players, basketball players, they go broke because they end up wanting to make other people understand what they're going through and what they can relate to. And I think that's something that it's going to keep happening until we kind of educate from a different perspective on how to I mean, like I look at LeBron James, for example. Like LeBron, as a basketball player, has been phenomenal because what he was able to do, not just on the court but off the court with his friends, helping them build businesses and building businesses together. With building schools and things of that nature. So yeah, this is a little bit more deep of a conversation. Um, but the truth of the matter is that uh, that guilty factor it plays a lot in life, and it certainly played a toll in my life during that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you see other artists like Chance the Rapper for what he did in Chicago and Big Sean what he's doing in Detroit, giving back to their communities and helping building schools just like you said with LeBron. Y- y- it's almost like the opposite of survivor guilt, when a group of people die except for one person and they say why was I the
Yeah,
one to survive? It's like the opposite of that. How did I succeed and everyone else is suffering? So
exactly,
um
exactly. This that's a great analogy.
yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're so humble about it and you want to do right for everybody. And because I know that and I don't want to say any, I know there's artists out there that just, I made it, I grinded, I did it, like you can do it too, but I'm not helping you. And so
Yep. Yeah, I know, and I respect those artists as well. I wouldn't say that I don't. I do respect those artists as well. I think to each his own, right? To whatever makes you feel. Because what I've realized in my life is that the more you help, sometimes the more you actually hurt. Meaning, the famous saying is, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Sometimes when you be that helping hand to lead that horse to water, and then they decide that you know they'd rather drink from your cup every single time. It's a difficult thing to take in, man. But like I said, that's probably deeper than you want to go in this interview. But hopefully, um, maybe someone out there that this message is resonating with them, and then they could say, okay, cool, I get it, I understand.
absolutely. Yes, yes. And maybe in the future there'll be room for a follow-up interview where we can talk about a little bit more deep things like that. We'll see.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I have to say Move was one of my favorite music videos when it came out. Do you remember anything significant from working on that set?
You know what? The one thing I will say is that we went into that video knowing that we would use what at the time was brand new technology, but people use it to this day still, the Phantom camera, which is it records in slow motion. So I believe it's like one of the best cameras for recording in slow motion. And I had heard about this technology. I think in 2008 when we were soliciting for directors, and I'm like, man, I got to use that camera. So all of those slow motion effects that you see and things being slowed down and twisted and turned, we kind of went into it. I really wanted to kind of do a lot more with it, but it wasn't within the budget or the means at the time. So I had to kind of settle for what we did with Move, which was still great. Don't get me wrong, it was still a great video, and and I had a lot of fun filming that one.
Absolutely. Like just the dancers, like they'll go to spin and be stopped and then reversed and gone forward a few times. It's such a unique, and yeah, at the time it was like, whoa, how the hell did they do this? You
Yeah.
know? Um, and obviously, there's tricks in like behind filmmaking and everything, but at the time I remember being like straight shook. Like, how did they do this? Like what, and if you guys haven't seen it, I'll put a link in the description box below. The song is Move by Mims, and it's called Move If You Wanna by Mims, and it's
Hmm.
fantastic. To this day, it's still like very awesome, even considering that it was filmed was it 2008, 2009?
2009, 2000. Yeah, we might have filmed it in 2008 and released it in 2009. But yeah, around that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's, over 10 years later, and it's still really cool. Um I don't, editing and
Yeah,
the song itself's really, really cool. So I suggest everybody listening to check out that right after this interview.
for sure.
Um, so you took a lot of the distribution of this record into your own hands and hired a street team to push it to radio DJs. Are there any
Hmm.
DJs that you would like to shout out in being instrumental in the success of Guilt?
Oh man, that's tough. Honestly, I'm going to keep it real general. I'm going to shout out to all of the DJs. And I'll say this, I started out as a DJ when I was 13 years old. I found a love for music as a DJ, and even still to this day, I still have a turntable set that I play around with every so often. DJs are underrated for what they do and what they provide. I mean, if it wasn't for a DJ, I wouldn't. If it wasn't for the DJs, I wouldn't be here. That's one. And two, um, just the fact that they can listen to music, understand where to place it to get people to feel a certain mood. Um, I love entertaining a crowd, but I feel like DJs are they have to do it at a faster pace. And yeah, maybe it's not their music, but they still have to understand when to play it and how to play it and how it affects people's mood. Um, so I mean, shout out to all the DJs out there because I mean, and not just the big ones. I mean, yeah, shout out to the big DJs as well, but shout out to the ones that are in the clubs. Shout out to the ones that are in the bars and um, you know, because once again, if you I get a call maybe once or twice a week saying, "Hey, man, I'm in this bar, I'm in this club, and this DJ's playing. This is why I'm hot, or this DJ's playing Move If You Wanna, or like this." And to this day, it's still I'm still just as appreciative of it every time I get those type of calls when people listen to my music that's almost 15, 14, 15 years old. It's incredible.
Absolutely. When you agreed to do this, I told some of my coworkers, I was like, you guys are never going to believe who I'm gonna interview, and they were like, "Who?" And I was like, "Mims," and they're like, "Oh, this is why I'm hot, guy," and they all started singing and dancing to it in the lobby of
Yeah,
my work. So it's definitely a
nice.
song that resonates with people, and it was one of those original club bangers from when I got out of high school, and I'm hitting the bars and the clubs. I mean, if it didn't come on at least once, it was like, we were kind of like, does this guy even know what he's doing? So yeah, the DJs that knew about Move If You Wanna and it, um, like this and this is why I'm hot. Yeah, those are the guys, the radio DJs. Those are the guys making it happen for the artists. So I agree with you. Big shout out to them.
That's what's up.
So around 2016, you decided to chase down your passion of technology and develop an app to assist with up and coming artists in the recording space. Could you tell us a little bit about your app and who should download it?
Yeah. So I mean, this deeper story than just any. I basically created this app called the Creator app, which allows anyone, no matter where they are, to use their cell phone as a recording studio. So I mean, one of the most expensive factors in being a musician is actually being able to record yourself. Um, and I've spent, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars on studio and studio equipment, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars actually. Um, and I always think back and I say, well, man, had I spent that money, but nothing would have ever cultivated with my career, that would be like a really hefty investment that I would have made and got nothing in return. And a lot of people they have like a burning desire to be a musician, but they don't have the means or the outlets to doing it. So yes, I have an app called Creator, which is spelled CRE8TOR. It's in the iOS store now. You can download it, and essentially it'll turn your iPhone or smartphone into a recording studio. I also have a lot of producer friends of mine who actually uploaded their music on there, so you can kind of take a test drive and try it out and just see, even if it's just to have fun. You utilize the app just to record. Right now, we are iOS exclusive. We did have an Android version, but Android is such a headache in uh, the building process, the coding process, that we kind of had to like remove it to rebuild it. So that should be out really shortly as well.
Awesome. And you know what it makes me think of is all those like super talented artists out there that have a message and have a voice and have raw talent, and they just simply can't afford to pay hundreds of of dollars to get into a recording studio. And this is the kind of app that they can download and get their voice heard and get it out there and put it on SoundCloud and put it on YouTube and get it played.
Exactly.
So yeah, you're making it happen for a lot of people, and I really respect you for doing that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So one of your missions is to do away with the stereotypes involved with black entrepreneurs in the technological space. Could you speak to that experience and what it means to you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, quite honestly, when I first originally wanted to obviously get into the space, um, I noticed that there was, a disparity in people who kind of looked like me, who had the ability to get funded from some of these bigger venture capitalists and these firms. And you know, it's been a long road even for me in the technology space, but I think um, it's an amazing space. I mean, listen, me and you wouldn't be talking if it wasn't for technology, like the Zoom, and then music wouldn't be listened to if it wasn't for technology like Spotify or Apple Music. So technology is the wave of the future. However, when you look at how many black owned tech companies are prominent, especially in the creative process, like with creating apps like Instagram. There really is very little, far, but even probably none, to be honest with you. Yes, from an investment standpoint, there are many black entrepreneurs that make a great amount of money in the tech space investing, but I'm talking more on the creative side. So I myself, I bootstrapped, and what that means is that I took my own money. Me and my co-founders, we've taken our own money and invested it in ideas that we have. So, I mean, eventually, I just want to see, I want to see more faces like mine, kind of in the industry, especially when I go out to some of these different conventions and whatnot.
Awesome. And in the past few years, have you seen a rise in, and like you said, people that look like you getting into the technological creative space? Have you witnessed any of that yet?
Absolutely. And the reason why I know is because I mean, obviously, I'm appreciative of you reaching out to do the podcast. I've been getting a lot of requests to do podcasts, and I know mainly some of it is about asking me questions about my past, but a lot of it has to do with what I've been doing currently, and that just shows me that the world is paying attention, and as long as I know that they're paying attention, then there's somebody out there that's looking and saying, okay, cool, I can do. I want to do what he's doing, or I want to be able to enhance what he's doing, and that's all you could ask. So I mean, I'm 100%. I'm certain that it's changing for the better.
And I think that as a world and as a the technological community can only benefit from creators of all backgrounds and walks of life and colors to get in there and put their voice forward and get their ideas heard and so
Absolutely.
absolutely. And I'm I will be downloading the creator app here soon. I'm not much of a musician, but I do want to see what it's about, and I suggest that everybody download it, especially if you're an up and coming artist and you want an easy way to record, and an inexpensive way to record. Definitely check it out, and I will put a link in the description box below for you guys.
Much
um
appreciated.
so moving on a little bit, do you think that performing music is behind you?
Um, no, I don't. I think that as I get older, and I will be celebrating a birthday really shortly.
Yeah.
What I realize is that the actual culture of hip hop has grown up. Um, and what that means is that I've made a stamp in the place of hip hop and music and rap music and that's a great thing because I feel like 10, 15 years down the line I'll still be, going to venues and performing. Will I create new content? I'm still a little torn about that. I think eventually I will. Maybe, possibly in the near future, even. But for now, I think that the performance side, I'm 100% going to be on that road as much as I can, just to show face to people, and have a good time out there. Because I definitely enjoy performing for sure.
Absolutely. And like you said, music has been such a part of your life since you were very young. And so,
Hmm.
I'm sure that it calls to you and it makes you want to get back in and write and perform. So, we can't wait. Hopefully it does happen really soon, and I'll be one of the first ones downloading that album. So,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
what's on your horizon? What should your fans be looking out for? It could be music or the technological space.
Right now, yeah, technology is where I'm at. What's where my heart is. So, I mean, I would say, just stay on the lookout for different ideas that I introduce, different things that I have going on in the space. I'm always looking to be disruptive and to push the culture forward. So, I like to deal in the music space with technology, but who knows? Maybe I'll venture off into some other spaces as well. But in the meantime, I want to keep continuing to make things for professional musicians or amateur or semi-professional musicians. So yeah, I mean, technology is definitely where it's at right now for me.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I think I'm all out of questions, Sean. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about or shout out before we jump off?
Oh no, man! But I mean, one of these days you gotta show me the RV life, and I would love to like learn about traveling because I've always that was been a dream of mine to get in an RV and actually travel a country. So, hopefully one of these days I'll be interviewing you, man.
I would absolutely love to give you like a little virtual tour of my RV and tell you how I got into it and what I'm doing. And yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, perfect. I'll be looking forward to that.
Absolutely. And everybody, I will put a link to Mims music videos and his socials in the description box below, as well as a link to the creator app and everything else that we talked about in the interview. I highly suggest you reach out to him if you have any cool ideas. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Perfect.
Wow, what a fantastic interview with Mims. I think I'll remember this interview for a long, long time. If you have any questions or suggestions about who I should have on the show next, you can find me on Twitter at DitchingP. That's DITCHINGP. I will also leave a link to all of Mim's videos as well as how you can contact him if you have any questions. Awesome, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode and stay gnarly, my friends.